Welcome back to Authentic Talks 2.0. I'm your host, Shanta Generally, and today's episode is one you'll definitely want to bookmark, share, and maybe listen to twice. I'm joined by Dr. Elizabeth George, known as Dr. Liz, who is a board-certified family physician and a co-founder of Healthy Eating Adventure. With over 4 decades of experience in medicine and public health, Dr. George has dedicated her life to helping individuals reclaim their health through whole food, plant-based nutrition. From founding prenatal clinics to leading international wellness missions, her work has touched communities far and wide. On today's episode, Dr. Liz is here to share her amazing book that has newly been released titled Healthy Eating Adventures: The Science, Success Stories, and Recipes for a Plant-Based Lifestyle. You guys, this book was co-authored with a chef by the name of Nick. What if the key to reversing chronic disease, increasing energy, and feeling your best isn't just in a pill, but in your kitchen? Are you aware that Healthy Eating Adventures reveals how whole food, plant-based eating can transform your health and your taste buds through the combined expertise of Dr. Elizabeth George, a dedicated physician, and Chef Nick Lula, a culinary expert who turned his own health around with the power of food. You guys, this is an episode that you definitely don't want to miss. With compelling scientific research, practical healthy cooking tips, and inspiring real-life success stories, this book challenges everything you think you know about nutrition. You're going to be able to cut through the confusion and the misinformation surrounding the whole food, plant-based lifestyle as Dr. George explains the science behind why a whole food, plant-based diet works. Go ahead, grab your drink, get comfy, get your feet kicked up. If you're at work, go ahead and make sure you plug on in real good and hold on. And let's go ahead and dive on in with today's episode. Before we dive in, I want to take a moment to ask you guys to hit that subscribe button. That way you won't miss an episode once I upload a show. If you enjoyed the episode, please head on over to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or podchaser.com. Again, if you have not subscribed to the show, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. All right, you guys, let's go ahead and dive on in with today's episode. I'm really excited to learn a little bit more about having a plant-based diet. Okay, you guys, let's go ahead and welcome Dr. Elizabeth George, also known as Dr. Liz, to Authentic Talks. Authentic Talks is all about authentic conversations. This show is all about growth, love, respect, success, mind, body, and spirit. If you're looking to grow and become your authentic self, then this is the podcast for you. And I am your host, Shanta. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show, Dr. Liz. I'm really excited to have you here. And I love your book that you wrote. I feel like it's going to help so many people. And then we're going to talk about the misconceptions that are associated with plant-based diets today. Can I have you please introduce yourself to our listeners, please?
I'd be happy to. And I'm so glad you think the book's going to be helpful because that's why we wrote it. I'm Dr. Elizabeth George, but I think over the years, most of my patients called me Dr. Liz. My husband and I set up family practice in a small town in Mercersburg in 1980. So I've had lots of years of experience. We didn't retire till 2017. We took care of families. Our goal was to take care of the whole person. They're within their whole life, like how are they feeling in their jobs, in the home, how's their emotions, and then their systems. We never took care of just a body part. We took care of it as part of the whole person. And we always emphasized lifestyle.
So you basically took a holistic approach to caring for your patients.
Right. When we first started, when we trained in family medicine, that is what the approach was. And it's only been in the past, I'd say 20 years that that has disappeared and pills and everything. Pills and rush with your appointments have taken over. They tried to get me to make my appointments 15 minutes. I said, I will not do less than a 30-minute appointment, and if you want to pay me less, so be it. But I was not gonna.
So you were in it for like passionate about there for the real reason, not just for the check,
Oh
but
my,
just,
yeah. Oh
oh
my,
yeah.
was never even there for the check.
Dr. Liz, so you're a family physician. And
Yeah.
so that's where all of this comes into play with you wanting to truly educate and help people.
Yeah.
So you've said that this lifestyle of plant-based medicine helped to save a chef's life.
Right. Well, a lot of lives. Yeah. So can I tell you how we got into that? I wasn't
Absolutely.
always whole food plant-based. As I said, when we first went into practice, it was really unusual to see someone have type 2 diabetes or hypertension before age 50. It was not occurring in young adults. And all of those problems started increasing dramatically in the 90s and 2000s, just dramatically. And I was just going, this is wild, and wondering what we could do. And in 2009, the statistic came out that the next generation is going to live shorter lives. And I said,
Wow.
this is not going to happen. And I looked at the statistics for diabetes and hypertension and obesity in other states, and some areas had lower and some had higher. And it turns out that places where the people get out and do healthy things, their health is better. So we created a wellness program in our community, and we were doing hiking trails and biking trails and talking to restaurants and schools about eating healthily. I came across this research by Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn and Dr. Dean Ornish that showed that if you put a patient who's had a heart attack or heart disease on a whole food plant-based diet, their symptoms will improve and many of the arteries will actually open. And none of your statins, the cholesterol drugs, they've never been able to show that it does that. And I looked at that and I said, game on. We're going to, learn from him, learn how to teach whole food plant-based eating, and we're going to create a program where actually Caldwell's, Dr. Esselstyn's son, Rip Esselstyn, had taught Texas firemen to eat this way, and they did it by joining as a group each week and learning to cook. So I said, hey, I called Rip Esselstyn actually. I said, I'm Dr. Elizabeth George. You might not know me, but I've read your book. And I said, can you come help us in Mercersburg? And he actually did. He said, game on. And so he came and we set up the program that takes persons that want to improve their health. We get them to commit to whole food plant-based. We teach them the how. We do demos. I teach them a little of the science, and I teach them how did the standard diet get us, the standard American diet rope us in? And how did we get into this? Because I feel like if they know the science of why whole food plant-based works and they know the treachery that has pulled us into the standard American diet, that they're going to want to resist it and say, no, I'm not doing that. I'm going to take on something that's healthy. And every week they bring in one of their favorite dishes from the week. And so you have 30, 40, because that's how many participants we usually have at a time, sharing all this food, and they're tasting all this great food, and they can see the great variety that there is and all the different ideas. And they say, how did you make this? Oh my gosh, where'd you find this? How did you do that? And then they say, if you can do this, I can do it. And by the end of the month, everybody is cooking whole foods plant-based and doing a great job. Yeah, it's impressive. But what impressed me, I'm going now. Is that all right? What impressed me was, yes, their cholesterol came down, diabetes improved, hypertension subsided, almost everybody lost weight. But there were changes in all sorts of things, not just like, and one time a woman stood up and said, I'm not depressed anymore. Has anybody else had a change in their mood? One gentleman said, Dr. Liz, could this fix my anxiety? I've had anxiety all my life, and now I'm not anxious anymore. So the foods that you put in make a much bigger difference than just lowering your cholesterol. I mean, it's amazing. Gut issues solved, joint pains. A woman came in a week later and said, my joint pains are gone. And she had been diagnosed after years of going to doctors as ankylosing spondylitis, and they wanted to put her on one of the fancy meds. And her family doc, who knew our program, said, no, go first to Whole Food, to the healthy eating adventure. and it cleared it. That's an autoimmune disease. It cleared an autoimmune disease. And we've seen other over the years autoimmune diseases clear. So, I mean, and it makes sense. You put the foods in that make your body run right, and it's not disconnected. It's everything's related. And have you heard of the microbiome?
No, I have not.
Oh, the
Mike
microbiome.
micro oh,
Microbiome,
you
your
know
gut
what?
bacteria. You've heard of it as the gut bacteria,
Yeah, yeah,
probably.
yes, I have heard of it.
Well,
Yes.
over the years that we were doing this, there was more and more research on the gut bacteria. And it turns out your gut bacteria are very, very important to your health and to keeping your gut healthy terms of making certain things like or helping your body absorb tryptophan, and tryptophan makes your serotonin, and that goes to your brain. And the gut bacteria, if they have enough fiber, they break that fiber to butyrate, and that's what it gives it to your gut wall, and the gut wall uses it as energy to keep your gut wall strong. And that's so you don't get inflammatory bowel disease and you don't get leaky gut. I mean,
Oh,
it's very complex what the gut bacteria do. And if you're eating the standard American diet, you get nasty bacteria in there that do mean things. They break down tryptophan, so it's not available for you to make serotonin for your brain, and your brain needs it for preventing depression.
wow.
And they also, you know what else those those bad gut bacteria do? They keep your gut wall from making gliptin. Well, you've heard of what gliptins are, that in Ozempic. Well, you don't have to take a pill. You just have to heal your gut wall with whole food plant-based eating, and your gut wall will make that gliptin, which helps you make your insulin. And it's also part of a I'm full thing, so you know when you're full. And I mean, it's amazing. And the gut bacteria are so important. So you got to feed them the right foods. And it turns out the right foods is whole foods, plant-based eating.
Wow,
And yeah, it turns that's what and I'm sorry to say, milk and dairy actually encourage the not so nice bacteria.
that's
Yeah.
interesting. A lot of people believe that those are all the good foods for us. I have to share, Dr. Liz, what happened with me in 2020 or 2019. I did my very first experiment where for 30 days I pulled out all of like meat and dairy out of my diet. And I thought that it was going to be really difficult for me because I love chicken wings and that was my thing. And I love to douse them with all the unhealthy things. And so I did it one day at a time. When I got to about a week in, I noticed that I was happy for no reason. I would wake up in the morning and I felt good. I would be walking around the house and I would go to show up at work and I just felt overall my energy just felt good. And this is truth. I don't have a reason to make this stuff up. And I talked about this on a podcast. I talked about how my mood was better. I talked about how I felt amazing. And I was just happy for no reason at all. By the time I made it
That's
to the
great.
30 days, I was like, okay, like that was not a bad experience. I felt my energy was really good. I just felt really happy. I was just like, this is amazing. And I thought, like, no one would ever believe that this is possible, that I felt that much better just pulling that out. So then what happened? I decided, okay, it's time for me to now go back to my regular diet. So I went and bought chicken wings and I got like three different types. And I was really excited about the smell. I was like, this is going to be amazing. And I tried to eat it and I threw up, like it just came back up. And I
Oh,
was
good.
insistent on like, I got to get this down. And I kept trying. And eventually I did go back to the meat, but then I did know, honestly, I noticed a difference like right away where I was not feeling as chipper. I would wake up feeling sluggish. And after I would eat, there was times where I felt like Thanksgiving was almost every other day. And so then I had to do it again. And so what I do now is I do these cleanses where I'll go completely plant-based and I've tested it out so many times where I know for a fact that our diets do make a difference in how we feel, how we operate. I wasn't as tired. I found that my weight was more stable and all of those things. And so I definitely, and then I know someone who currently makes plant-based cheese. And there's just so many ways now where people can have some of the same taste that they've become accustomed to with all of the unhealthy choices centered around it. And that's why I invited you on, because I seen that you have this amazing cookbook. And when I read a little bit about it, I got really excited. And I'm like, that is a book that I need to have on my bookshelf. And there's other people that need this
Yes,
book too, because
too.
a lot of us don't know where to start. Some people are like, I want to eat, but what do I eat?
In the recipe book, I mean, in the book, it talks about how to stock your pantry. It helps talks about how to get into cooking, and he's got a cooking with kids. Yeah. And he also has a chapter where he's taken all of his, we're not just one country. I mean, we eat Mexican, we eat Chinese. He's taken all of his favorite international recipes and made them whole foods plant-based. So
Wow.
all the different foods that you like to eat, you can eat. How come you don't just keep staying on it?
Because I needed this book in my life with Chef Nick and with Dr. Liz on it
Yeah.
because
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, finding those recipes and just knowing like how to have the longevity with it with different things. And I am definitely ready. I have a question for you, Dr. Liz. What was your diet like before? What were your eating habits like before you had the mindset shift around food during your transition? Like, what was it like before? Were you like eating all the things like
I was
dairy?
Yeah, yeah, we did have dairy. I was fortunate though. My mother, she I learned early on that you really should read labels. She was very suspicious of foods with all sorts of stuff in it. So I fortunately didn't get into too much into processed foods because those foods, I mean, the food chemists create tastes that just pull you in, and they're
Ooh,
fake. They're not real, and they make you want more. The potato chips, they're designed that way. But anyway, so we ate just a balanced fruits, vegetables, but more we'd have meat and potatoes, and we made some wonderful meatloaf and everything. And I missed my meatloaf, so now I make a lentil loaf, and it's delicious, and I enjoy having it with my potatoes and with my vegetables. So, and when my kids, I remember going to Wendy's and but quite a while ago, those restaurants weren't as quite deep into cheese and huge burgers and everything, and there was more real lettuce and tomatoes. But yeah, I wasn't, when Caldwell's work came along, that's when I just switched. Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. And the first time we did it, we had 70 people with the program that Rip did with us. There were so many amazing changes that, you just couldn't go back. And people learned it and they loved the taste. And yeah. And actually the taste is wonderful. Your taste buds wake up. Right now, Standard American Diet has them like smushed with just pure salt, and you want salt, 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 or maybe sugar, 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 or maybe fat, fat, fat. But your umami receptors aren't working well. And people that have been on whole food plant-based, a tiny bit of salt is all they need. Or
Mm,
things don't need to be things to add. You don't need to add sugar usually because like fruits are so wonderful and they're plenty sweet and so it's amazing. I don't know if I answered your question. What
oh,
was that like
you
before?
did.
So I was fortunate
You
that I
were
had some
lucky.
before. Yeah, but it was a change for me. But I'll tell you, following the recipes and just in tasting all that great food and have fun doing it. Have fun cooking. I had one of my patients started it and she told me, Dr. George, since I've been cooking this way, my daughter comes in with her friends and we start cooking and chopping together and talking and having conversations. And over the years, we've been told, don't take time cooking, hurry, 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 rush, rush, rush. You shouldn't spend time in the kitchen. It's such a bunch of, we should spend time in the kitchen and with our family. What's more important than our health, you know? And
Yes. What has been some of the common misconceptions about plant-based eating that you've come across, and how do you help people overcome those doubts? I met someone that said we really shouldn't be eating that way. It's just not healthy for us. It's not good for our teeth. We weren't created or made like to survive
All
off of that.
mine,
And
all
that's
mine.
and she truly believes this.
But you can give them examples. I mean, the studies show that gums are healthier. There's plenty of athletes that have taken on whole food plant-based eating. And it's the plants that increase your nitric oxide. You know how athletes eat beets to give them the staying? Well, that's nitric oxide that your body makes, and then that helps open up blood vessels and your blood and the lining of your blood vessels and everything. I mean, it's all very scientific. But so athletes, Olympic winners, all they are doing it. So they're definitely getting enough protein. Your whole grains and legumes have plenty of protein, and sometimes you should say to non-plant-based eaters, where are you getting your vitamins? Are you sure you're getting enough? Because it's your fruits and vegetables that have the largest portion of your vitamins and minerals. Yeah, and your
Mhm.
antioxidants and your acanthocyans and your sulfurans, all of those, that's in your fruits and vegetables. It's not in meat and dairy. And meat and dairy have some proteins that actually your body goes about. Yeah.
Wow. What's your comfort dish that proves healthy that you love?
Oh, I love all my food.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're like,
Well,
I love.
I have fun making a pumpkin pie, and we use dates in the and make a crust with graham crackers, and then the pumpkin I mix in creamy tofu with the pumpkin with real pumpkin, and then I'm gonna get my grandson in there with me, and he's got great taste buds, and I shake in the nutmeg and I have him taste that. Is that enough nutmeg? So it's just plain fun, and that's a fun one. I love that one. Once you get eating it, I one fun dish that I make, first of all, when you're cooking, cook more than just for tonight. Cook for several days, and then you'll have fun playing with what you made and doing it. But one fun dish I like to make, and it's so easy. I take a nice baking dish. I put in the bottom, I put brown rice or quinoa, put about a half a cup of water in. And then on top of that, I pile sweet potatoes, onions, carrots, celery, broccoli, all different lovely vegetables. Sometimes zucchini, mushrooms are great in there. And then I put it in the oven at 375 and cook it for 30 minutes, 40 minutes. And you just keep checking it to make sure it's getting tender. And then when it's all getting really soft, I take out and I chop up some kale and massage it because kale is great for nitric oxide and all sorts of things. I massage it with paprika, put it on top, and then put some beans like kidney beans or canola beans or chickpeas. And so think of all the protein that's in that dish with the whole grains and that. And then all the vitamins are in the dish. And then all the flavor that's in there because of the herbs I've used and stuff. And then you put it in the oven and you cook it and then you eat it. And it's great. It's got all the foods in it that you need. Easy.
Nice.
That
That sounds
recipe. Well, that recipe's on our website, healthyeatingadventure.com. And
nice.
the book's got all sorts of, every dish is a comfort dish.
Oh, I love it. That's super exciting. So there's amazing benefits for our bodies, for our minds. This is helping us like to have longevity. Our bodies are intended to be fed a lot of these different foods. And what
And you
would,
need them.
yes, we need them. We need them.
And we
And
don't
so,
need some of the other stuff that's being put in there. It's the other stuff is damaging.
what would be the top two tips or three tips for someone just starting their plant-based journey?
Well, decide your why. Why do you want to do it? And it's not just to lose weight. It's maybe you want to live to see the grandchildren spend, but really think of your why so that you carry that along. Get a great recipe. Look, I buy our recipe book. The Caldwell Esselstyn and Jane Esselstyn and Ann Esselstyn have a lovely, easy book. Rip Esselstyn. Get a book with fun recipes. I would get rid of most of the stuff in your refrigerator and cabinets that's junk food, meat, dairy. You can share it with someone or something. Go on a grocery shopping trip and pick out a recipe and see what you need for it.
Is it more expensive to have plant-based, you think, or is it about the same
Much as
financially?
How much is meat per pound?
When we think about the cost of steak and beef and all of
Like,
that up in price, and it is absolutely just
it's less expensive.
disgusting for our bodies. Like it makes you feel so fatigued and heavy. And then not only that, but once you start actually watching what some of the traumatic experiences that the animals are experiencing, and we're putting that into our bodies, and we want to know, why do we have stress, depression, anxiety? A part of it is linked to the foods we eat, because the animals, when they're going through these torturous situations. I watched this episode on Netflix about, it was to do with the chickens and how they were so squashed they couldn't turn around, and they were just stacked
Right.
in there.
Yeah.
And it just made me feel so like I just really didn't like that.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's kinder to the animals, and it's hard to feel good really when that kind of stuff's going on. And when you go plant-based, your compassion comes back to you. Because when you were a little girl and you saw all these cute little animals, you were taught, well, we don't eat those, we do eat those. And you had to stash away the fact that some of these animals were going to be killed. And then we live with that. But the freeing thing is when you go whole foods plant-based, you're doing such a good thing for the animals and also for the environment. I was in the Amazon on a mission trip. And one thing that we really worked on was getting the persons there to stay on your plant-based diets that you grow naturally and everything. We were so perturbed that some of the hut stores had all that colorful junk stuff, packages in the store. So we worked hard on getting them to eat their natural foods. But also, as I was going along in a boat on the Amazon, I looked up and I saw all those clear-cut pastures that they've done where they've cut down the jungles. Really sad. And that's for the
Mm,
animals. So all that damage is done to raise something that's not good for us. Yeah. So it really makes changes. It's wonderful. And it makes a difference for the environment, and for our health, really. Yeah.
yes, that is an interesting share. I know growing up, I had lived a short period of time in the Midwest. And one day I came home from school and I seen something hanging on a clothing line, and it was just dripping. And I was like, what the heck? And they're
Oh,
like, oh, yeah, but like, she's like, oh, we're letting it drain because that's
oh,
going to be dinner. And I was like, I'm not eating that. And she's like, well, I'm not going to give it to you. It was for her, my mother's boyfriend. And
oh,
I was like, I'm good. I'm not eating meat tonight, And so I skipped it because when I was able to see it, I was like, no way. And then the next time that I was like, I am not eating meat, get that away from me, was when we had this get together and they put a pig on like these
oh,
sticks and was doing
yeah.
a thing, and it had a hole in the
And
ground.
the whole head is there, and
Yes.
the space going by on this.
Yes. And it's so hard to
Yeah.
know. And I was just watching everyone like, are you guys serious? You're actually going to dig in and act like as if you can't see the eyes and the face, the mouth half open. And I'm like, I am good. I'm good. I'll take all the other stuff. So I ate the corn on the cob and all the other things that they had. They had all types of vegetables to go with it. And that's what I did. So I was the person who could not see the before. So I have a weak stomach.
Weak stomach, it is a stomach that loves animals and loves other people, and it doesn't want to see that wrong going on. That's a
Yeah.
stomach. That's a
Oh,
stomach.
oh, okay. Right on. Yeah, I love that correction.
Hmm.
Because you're right. Because it is the compassion that you have
Oh,
for, yeah, that's exactly what it is.
and it's stressful to push that compassion away, and you get joyful when you're
Yeah.
just enjoying your plants.
I would love to challenge anyone tuning in today to try what I tried, to try it. Just try, start with 1 week at a time. And then you'll notice that you're still alive and breathing, because we hear these stories that we're going to be weak and like fainty and pass out.
Oh
It's
my
not
God, no,
true. It's
not at
totally
all.
not true. And then you'll make it to week 2. It's like you'll notice that you feel so much better. It's kind of like that experiment that, have you heard of the one where you put the water in the water bottle two water bottles, you fill them up with water, and one you say all these beautiful, kind, amazing things to it. The other you say not so nice things, and you freeze them both. And then the one that you said all the beautiful things to freezes like in a different way. It
Oh, is
looks,
that right? Oh,
yes, it looks
that's fun.
different.
That's
Yeah,
a,
it's kind of like your
yeah.
body can feel that I'm it just feels better. It really does.
So people should, really legumes are great to cook with, and it's easy to make a lentil soup and now they have pastas that are made of chickpeas and stuff. And it's easy to make spaghetti, make a nice spaghetti sauce and put your chickpeas in it. It's easy to put together a lovely green salad with all sorts of things on it. Today I had at lunch lettuce, tomatoes, broccoli, all yummy. And then at supper, when I have my green salad, then I'll use oranges and some different things in it to just kind of balance it out. And salads are so much fun. And I'll
They
probably
are.
have my beet burger with dinner tonight. You have to be careful with them. You have to read the labels because often they are very highly processed. And also, I don't want something that tastes like meat. I don't want something with the texture of meat. So I don't do those burgers. And when you actually look at them,
What, the Impossible Burger?
they're not very good for you, unfortunately. It might be a little better than meat, and if that's what you have to do to make the change, but you can have fun making chickpea burgers. They're easy to make.
Where
There's
they
also
stick together?
yeah,
Oh.
but you don't just do the chickpeas. There's other ingredients in it too.
Oh, okay. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's gonna stay together?
No, you
Oh,
don't just push the chickpeas. You find I bet you could even Google chickpea burgers and you would find one.
oh, nice. I
Yeah.
love that there's like a lot of variety because I believe like in earlier years it wasn't quite as common back then as it is today to find people who are plant-based. It is growing.
Yep.
It's really growing, and people are becoming educated on all of the whys. And
Yes. Yes.
you want to educate people, but not make people feel like in a bad way because they haven't caught up to where you might be.
Right. Yeah. You don't want to preach. I generally present this to people who want to hear it. And so
Yeah.
if I'm with someone and they ask me about it, I'm happy to talk about it. Or if they go, I can't eat like that, I go, works for me. I feel good. There is a lot more out there. Hospitals are slow to catch on to this. We did get our hospital in Pennsylvania to take on a menu that includes plant-based because really the hospitalization is the special teaching moment. It's an ideal teaching moment. So you have a cardiac patient in there and what, you bring them a steak? That doesn't make sense. Bring them a delicious, meal made with all plants and teach them about it. So that's one of the things that the book is hopeful for too, because there's the science in it. But people have reassured me the science is in people terms also. But I'm hoping that doctors and chefs, and Nick is too, will, start to include this in their practice and not a second thought. It's when you have a person with diabetes, let's start them on whole foods, plant-based. And a lot of times it'll reverse when you have type 2 diabetes. One of our persons who had type 2 diabetes, not only did her diabetes improve, her retinopathy, retinopathy is a main cause of blindness in diabetics. It cleared up. Her eye doctor looked in there and could not believe it. It cleared up. But sense. Let me tell you the things that Chef Nick got over. In the first 30 to 60 days, his pre-diabetes went away, his hypertension went away, he got off all his medicines. He didn't need pills, Tums and stuff for reflux anymore. He didn't need that. His gout went away. He said a lot of chefs have gout. His gout
Yeah.
went away. A couple months later, he got an ultrasound and his fatty liver had gone away.
Wow.
Yeah, and it does. If you eat whole food plant-based, your fatty liver, I'm pretty sure will go away. We've had other people did. And now they're getting out a whole line of technology and pills to treat this. Well, no, first of all, go whole food plant-based and you can get rid of that fatty liver. And his restless legs went away, which was amazing. Yeah, so
Wow.
it's the body's all connected.
And that was between 30 to 60 days.
Mhm. Well, the fatty liver took a little longer to clear up than 30 to 60, but PCRM did a study, and I think within, was it 30 or 60 days, it was reduced by at least 30%. So yeah, it goes away, it starts to go away. And fatty liver is very common, and it's the most common cause of liver failure now. Yeah, it'll go away with whole food plant-based eating. And sometimes it's like very quickly, sometimes it takes a little more time because your body's had it for a while. But yeah, absolutely. It's related to the foods we eat. Yeah, and environment, getting out and walking makes a difference, getting a good night's sleep. But with eating whole food plant-based eating, you can do those things more easily.
Yes, absolutely. That's
Nick's
good.
sleep apnea also went away.
Sleep apnea?
Chef Nick's sleep apnea went away.
Wow. So Nick tested it out, went through the program, and then after he wanted to write this book, add
He
his recipes.
Yeah, he was in the program, I think 2013, and he's been strong in it, and he's been doing the cooking demos. And then a few years ago, we decided we needed to write all this down, write a book, just for the exact. And I love that you knew why wanted to write it, and that it was going to make a difference, because that's what we want. I mean, and at the end of our program, we always say to all the participants, now remember, to keep in talking about health, to keep it, you have to share it. Because the more you're surrounded by people that are following whole food plant-based, the more it's easier for you. And we teach them to go into the grocery stores, and if they're not seeing whole grain grains and stuff, to go and ask the manager and say, can't you get this? And then I would go in 2 days later and ask him again, and he wouldn't remember me. So he'd think, oh, there's lots of people asking for brown rice.
Nice. I
Yeah.
love it. Yes, a lot of brown rice. It's pretty good for us. And I also do red rice as well. So we're basically like split where we
Oh,
do we have a lot of nights where there's no meat added.
wonderful.
Mhm.
Is the red rice a whole grain? I think it is, isn't it?
It is. It is.
Then it's super duper. Because when it's the grain part of it that adds the fiber and has a lot of the nutrients in it, and when you whack the outside off and you just have that center part, you're just getting the starch of it, which has some value, but not much.
Hmm.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
when you cook your potatoes, don't peel them. When you eat, wash them well, but don't peel them. A lot of your nutrients are, not all of them, but they're concentrated near the surface. So don't peel your cucumbers.
You learn
Just
something
wash
new
them.
every day.
Yeah, yeah,
I go
yeah.
to one place where they do keep it on there and they put it in the inside of a drink. So you can taste the outside of the cucumber when you're drinking it. Cucumbers is basically like water with it.
Yeah, a lot of your actually a lot of your fruits and vegetables have lots of water in them.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that helps regulate your appetite, because you're eating these things that have lots of liquid in them, and when they get in your stomach starts to go, "Oh, I'm getting full. Okay, I don't have to keep eating." Whereas when you put in half a cup of cheese or something, and that's 500 calories, your stomach doesn't feel full at all. And so then you're going to eat your burger. Well, it's still not going to feel full. So it's like 500 calories of meat and dairy doesn't fill you at all. 500 calories worth of fruits and vegetables. So yeah, so it
Yes,
regulates it hits your I'm not hungry anymore buttons. And that's a big help. Yeah.
absolutely. If someone wanted to buy the book, where can they find the book?
Oh, thanks for asking. On Amazon.com. Yeah.
All
And
right.
you can get it on Barnes and Noble online. It's called Healthy Eating Adventure: The Science, the Success Stories and Recipes for Plant-Based Eating.
I love it. This is definitely a book that would make an amazing gift as well. I'm a book lover, so I just love books because they have such great information in them, and especially a cookbook. That's just really good
Hmm.
stuff. What is it that we might not have talked about that you would want to leave our listeners with?
Oh my gosh, we talked about the microbiome, right? I think I mean, I could go on and on about the science behind all these things. One thing I think that's new, relatively new, is diabetes. The real thing that really causes diabetes and insulin resistance is fat, because the fat gets taken in and put into your cells, and it damages the cell's mitochondria, the energy thing. And then the cell wall, the insulin receptors don't work. So the insulin can't guide the sugar into the cells. And the cells use sugar for energy and everything, but the sugar can't get in. And that's why you start getting the sugar built up. And so it's not a good
Oh,
idea to have a lot of junky sugar in your diet. So that makes it worse. But the real culprit is the fat, like the fat that's in meat and dairy and in processed food where they add fat. That's the real culprit of the insulin resistance. If you're eating whole foods, plant-based, you're not going to be eating a lot of processed foods with sugar that's just out there sugar. You're going to get your sugar as part of your fruits and vegetables. So it's all bound up in fiber and it's absorbed slowly and gently, you know, and can be used that way. And then the fiber goes on and nourishes your microbiome. Yeah, if you have any chance to read about your gut bacteria, that's fascinating.
so in the book, there's stories and recipes.
Right. Because what I do is, well, some of the ones I've told you are in there, and
Mhm.
we've had people go on to become athletes. So I have a section in each of those, and then I explain the science of why it worked. So it's not just woo woo. It's there's a real reason why these things get rid of autoimmune disease and why people's acne goes away and things like that. Yeah, the chapters, it has the success story, so to speak, and then it looks at the different the why on the cellular basis, why did that happen, and the nutrients and everything.
Oh, this is good stuff. I
Yeah.
appreciate you guys taking the time to, you, Dr. Liz, doing the science behind it all and just having the withal to just move forward, the tenacity, the drive to want to do the testing
Yeah.
and putting people in a program to see how is this going to work and being able to share all of the information with us through a book. So you guys co-authored this book.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, I love that.
And
Love
there's
it.
a chapter by him and a chapter by me, and we call it a conversation, and it's slightly different perspectives. And I think that the beginning chapter is explaining how we got into the standard American diet and sucked into that. I think that's a helpful chapter too, because you're going to go, I don't want it anymore. I don't want it anymore. And
Yes.
that's helpful. Yeah.
Reminds me of soul food.
What's that?
It kind of reminds me of soul food. They say soul food is like food for the soul, but whenever you go and you're looking at a lot of the things that is considered to be a part of the soul food, a lot of that stuff is things like pig feet and pig tongue and just all the body parts of the animal that are considered to be the scraps because that goes back a long time ago. They pass it down generation to generation, and then people are now still thinking that like eating chitlins, the intestines of an animal is like you put onion and all the seasoning and that is really good and healthy for you, but it smells horrible when it's cooking. It stinks up your entire house and it's just the scraps. And it's like it's a mindset shift that really truly needs to happen to understand where that history comes from with all of that food. Back then, they had no choice. They were hungry or they felt like they didn't have a choice because they didn't know about plant-based. But and this
No,
is
that's
like way back
wonderful
when.
that you're pointing that out. That's really important because yeah, it's kind of a myth or a misunderstanding of where it all came from. Because that's certainly not what their ancestors ate. Many of them came from Africa. They didn't eat
Mhm.
that. And in countries where, like the Tarahumari Indians in, I think it's South America, they don't eat any of that and they don't have any heart disease.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That is correct. And I think high blood pressure, heart disease, there's a lot of, if we look at the history that is generational and more so certain diseases in certain cultures that are found here in the United States because of those eating habits.
Right. No, exactly. The amount of all of those diseases now are much more common than in the 50s, 60s, 70s. And they're more common here than in Europe because Europe doesn't have as much junk food. I was so sorry when I was over in Japan recently and seeing that they were getting in our McDonald's and everything.
Hmm. Yeah, I know. It's like, why? You guys really don't need that. You were doing so good. And now I notice that we're looking at removing some of the red dyes and things that other countries have considered
Removed
to
a
be
long time
unhealthy.
ago.
Yes,
Yeah, I
yes.
think that's great, don't you?
I
Yeah,
do. I think that that is definitely a good thing. And
yeah.
hopefully it goes through and gets passed. And I think it's going to take a couple years. I think like by 2028 is when that's supposed to go in effect or something like that. But I think it's definitely a 911 and something that should have happened a long time ago. They need to take care of their people better here.
And educating on whole foods, plant-based eating, and people eating more fruits. And even if they're not going all whole foods, plant-based, eating more fruits and vegetables and legumes and whole grains. And the meat only has to be a small part of your diet, and get the stuff that's free range. It doesn't need to be a big part. And then leave it out altogether.
Yes, I tried it and I did honestly feel so much better. I talked about that on a solo episode of a podcast of how I was happy for no reason at all. And I would, every now and then I go, wow, I feel really happy, but there's like nothing happening. Like, what is going on? And it was like, it took me a moment to even adapt to it because I was like, why am I so happy? And I was just
It's because
like,
your brain started working, your mood center
yeah,
started working, you were getting the serotonin flowing
yeah.
because you were growing healthy bacteria that were guiding the tryptophan in that was turned into serotonin. And you weren't, they also, some of the inflammatory stuff actually dulls the brain. They're pretty sure some of the inflammatory things that we absorb when you have crazy gut bacteria. And
Yes, yes. I
yeah,
enjoyed talking with you.
it's beautiful, beautiful.
I'm excited about you writing this book and you sharing and doing all of the research. So that's the least that I could do is be a part of that journey of like sharing this book with people. Like this got it has recipes, it has the science behind it. You've got to get this book. So thank you so much for putting your time and effort and all of the things into the book. And thank you so much to Chef Nick as well. Thank you so much, Dr. Liz. I've enjoyed you being on the show.
Pleasure. Thank you. It's
Yeah.
wonderful talk.
What an amazing conversation. A huge thank you to Dr. Liz George for sharing her wisdom, energy, and stories with us today. Whether you're just beginning your wellness journey or looking to deepen your understanding of plant-based living, I hope this episode gave you tools and inspiration to take that next step. Be sure to check out their incredible work at healthyeatingadventure.org, where you can find upcoming events, resources, and ways to connect. If you're part of a community, school, or an organization ready to explore a new way of living, they're the team to talk to. And if you're enjoying these authentic talks, don't forget to hit that subscribe, rate, and share the show. Let's keep the conversation going and the wellness movement growing together. Until next time, stay inspired, stay healthy, and as always, stay authentic. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Dr. Liz. I enjoyed having you as a guest. And you guys, thank you all for tuning in. I'm Shanta with Authentic Talks.